Hi guys, so in this video we're going to be looking at powers of rational numbers. So just to review what powers are, let's say you had a whole number to the power of 2. So 2 here is the power, okay, or the exponent. So what does the 2 mean here? Well, it just means we multiply the 7 by itself 2 times, right? So 7 to the power of 2 is the same thing as 7 times 7. Okay. Let's say we had 5 to the power of 4. What does this mean? Well, it just means 5 multiplied by itself 4 times, right? So 5 to the power of 4 is the same thing as 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Okay. So let's look at some examples of powers that are basically associated with rational numbers. So let's say we have negative 3.2 to the power of 2 minus 2 bracket negative 6.5 to the power of 3. So how would we solve this problem? Well, remember, we always have to go back to BEDMAS, okay, when performing the operations in math. So what does BEDMAS tells us? Well, it tells us to do brackets first, then exponents, right? And we do see some exponents in our expression here. So we have to take care of them first before doing any multiplication or subtraction. Okay. So the exponents are the same thing as powers. Okay. So don't get confused here. When it says exponents, that's the same thing as a power. Power or exponent are basically synonyms. So let's do that. So negative 3.2 to the power of 2 means negative 3.2 written or multiplied by itself 2 times. Okay, so that's that. And then we have a minus 2. And then we have a negative 6.5 to the power of 3. So that means negative 6.5 multiplied by itself 3 times. So what does this give us? So if you do this on a calculator or by hand, or in your head for that matter, we're going to get a positive number, right? Because we have a minus and a minus. We have 2 negative numbers, and when we multiply 2 negative numbers, we get a positive number. So we're going to get 10.24. Okay, 10.24 minus 2, and then let's do this all together. So let's multiply the negative 6.5 times the negative 6.5 times the negative 6.5. So again, you can do that in your calculator, or you can do it by hand. So when we do this, we're going to get a negative 274. So negative 274.625. And this makes sense that we're getting a negative number here, right? Because we're multiplying a negative by a negative. So that should give us a positive. Okay. And then we're multiplying that positive number, whatever it is, by a negative, right? And when we multiply a positive by a negative, we get a negative number. And that's what we see here. So everything makes sense so far. So what's our next step? Well, we have a negative 10.24, and BEDMAS tells us that multiplication comes before addition and subtraction. So we got to multiply this 2 times a negative 274.625 before we do the subtraction here. Okay. So what does that give us? Well, 2 times negative 274.625 gives us negative 549.25. Okay. And don't get confused about this. Remember, when we multiply a positive, so we're multiplying the 2 times the negative, we should get a negative number, right? But we still have the negative out front here. So we got to leave this negative out front here. Okay, and then we obviously, yes, we have the negative here. So in the next step, what happens is when we simplify this, we're actually going to get a positive because we have a negative and a negative. Okay, and that gives us a positive. If that's confusing, just imagine there's a 1 here. Imagine there's a 1 from the bracket. So now we're basically multiplying the negative 1 by the negative 549.25, right? So what's 1 multiplied by 549.25? Well, it's just 549.25, right? But then we know that when we multiply two negatives, we get a positive. So it's going to be a positive 549.25. Okay? So another way of looking at this is from the get-go, so from the start, we could have just multiplied the negative 2 multiplied by the negative 274.625. Okay? What that would give us is that would give us this directly. And this is actually my preferred way of doing it because it makes more sense. Because what you're doing is you have the negative, but it's attached to the 2, right? It's attached to the 2. So what you're doing is you're basically multiplying minus 2 times the negative 6 times the negative 274.625. Okay? So we know that when we multiply two negatives, that gives us a positive. So that's our positive here. And then the result of our multiplication is right here. Okay? Instead of thinking of multiplying just the 2 without the negative by the negative 274.625 and then getting negative 549.25, right? And then having the negative here. Because this is just an extra step. You can just go from this line directly to this line. Okay? So hopefully that's clear. If that's not too clear, let me know in the comments below. So now continuing our expression here. So we have 10.24 plus 549.25. So now we have no more operations. We just have an addition, so we can go ahead and just simply add these two numbers together. Okay? So we'll end up with a 559.49. And again, you can do that on your calculator or you can do that on a piece of paper. Okay? So that's our answer for that problem. So let's try another problem, if you don't mind. So let's say we have our rational numbers. So negative 2 and 2 over 3. 2 over 3. Sorry, let me just rewrite that. It's not too clear. Plus bracket negative 1 and 3 over 4 minus 5 over 6 squared. Okay, so over here we have a mixed number and we're adding that to a bunch of stuff here in brackets. So we have a mixed number, subtract a fraction, and that's all raised to the power of 2. Okay? So according to BEDMAS, we have to do exponents or powers before we do any addition, right? So we have to take care of this first. However, before exponents, look what's present, brackets, right? Brackets. So we actually have to take care of these brackets first. So we have to do the operations in the bracket. So it's fine that there's a subtraction inside the bracket. It's fine that we're doing the subtraction before we're taking care of the exponent. It's because the subtraction is within the brackets, right? And BEDMAS tells us that we have to take care of the brackets first. So it doesn't matter if there's a subtraction or an addition, for that matter, or a multiplication or even a division. As long as it's inside the bracket, it's okay that we're doing that first, because ultimately all that's within the brackets, and brackets are the first thing we have to do in BEDMAS. Okay? So let's go ahead and simplify the brackets. So negative 1 and 3 over 4. Well, we can change that into an improper fraction. So we can rewrite this as negative 7 over 4. And then we have the minus 5 over 6 to the power of 2. So now to subtract these two fractions, let's find the common denominator. So the lowest common denominator between 4 and 6 is 12. So we can rewrite this as over 12. And then the numerators become negative 21 and minus 10. here. Okay, and that's squared. And then obviously we have the negative 2 and 2 over 3. Negative 2 and 2 over 3. That's being added to the stuff. So now, what's our next step? Well, we can simply just subtract these two numbers, right? Because we now have common denominators. So this just becomes negative 31 over 12 squared. And then we have the negative 2 and 2 over 3 here. So I'm going to continue up here. So now the next step is to actually do the exponents, right? Because we've dealt with the brackets now. And before we can do this addition here, we have to deal with the exponents. So negative 31 over 12 squared just means negative 31 over 12 times negative 31 over 12, right? And when you do that on your calculator or a piece of paper, we get 961 over 144. Okay. And we have to add that to our negative 2 and 2 over 3. So basically, what we can do now in this case is convert this 961 over 144 into a mixed fraction. Okay, so we can rewrite this as a mixed fraction. So when we do that, we get 6 wholes and 97 over 144. Okay, so now we have negative 2 and 2/3 and 6 and 97 over 144. So now what do we do from here? Well, remember when we add and subtract mixed numbers, we can just add and subtract their wholes. So the negative 2 and the 6. And then we can add or subtract their fractions, right? So now if we can get a common denominator for 2 over 3 and 97 over 144, we can just add these two mixed numbers easily, right? So let's try to do that. So let me just clear the board here. Make some space. So we have negative 2 and 2 over 3 plus 6 and 97 over 144. So now, if you were to find a common denominator between 3 and 144, you would see that 144 would be a common denominator. Okay, so 144 would be a common denominator. And as a result, we could write 2 over 3 as 96 over 144, and then 97 over 144 stays the same. Okay, so if this is not clear to you, basically what I'm doing, and I'm not showing just for the sake of time, is I'm finding the lowest common multiple of 3 and 144, right? And then I see when I do that the lowest common multiple of 3 and 144 is 144. Okay, so that's my lowest common denominator. So therefore I can change this 2 over 3 into 96 over 144, and then this stays the same because it's already over 144. Okay, and if that's not crystal clear to you, please check out my previous videos on how to find the lowest common multiple and lowest common denominator when dealing with mixed numbers and fractions. Okay, so now we have the negative 2, which is in front of the 2 over 3, and then we also obviously have the 6. So now we can easily go ahead and just add these two mixed numbers together, because we can just add the whole components. So the negative 2 and 6, when we add that, we get 4, right? Positive 4, because negative 2 plus 6 is positive 4. And then we can just add the numerators here, because the denominators are the same. So 96 plus 97, or rather negative 96 plus 97 gives us 1 over 144. Okay, remember the negative here applies to the numerator as well, because this whole number is negative, right? So this number is actually a negative 96. Okay. And so negative 96 plus 97 is 1, right? Negative 96 plus 97 is 1. So that's why I get the 1 over here over 144. So this is our final answer for this problem.